We come to the third part of the first lecture of synchronizing IT and strategy. IT increasingly underpins individual line functions' work and glues together their contribution into a firm-wide business process. Changing any of this work requires changing the information technology in which they are embedded. Firms are organized as line functions or departments that specialize in different things: marketing, sales, accounting, finance, etc. So these organizations are all IT dependent because they all need data and information to function. Historically, IT was on the backstage of these, and in fact, a lot of them built independent software. Operations had its own IT system, accounting had its own IT system. But now, IT functions as the backbone and glues the firm-wide operations together. So IT becomes really important, and all these functions are heavily dependent on information technology. We have business processes that cross-cut functions and departments, and these departments can no longer work in isolation. So when a line function wants to tweak how it does any of its activities, the rigidity of IT in which they are embedded often is a roadblock to change. This rigidity is often a consequence of their irreversible architecture, and we'll talk about this in lecture 3. Only by actively engaging in IT decisions that affect your line functions can you ensure that its IT tools match the evolving priority. Companies often focus on disruptive use of information technology because that's what makes the news. However, it causes them to overlook IT-enabled growth opportunities in existing operations, which is there right under their nose. IT strategy should be pragmatic and find incremental ways to look at underexploited, adjusted areas. And while you can focus on disruptive breaks, the real focus should be on how do you use IT for incremental parts. And we're going to look at what we call as edge strategy, and there are 3 areas we can look at it. First is complements, and this is an example of Apple, which generates a healthy parts of its margins using for-fee services like iCloud. MS Office has OneDrive. Microsoft 365, Office 365 actually offers 5 terabytes of OneDrive spaces, 5 different accounts of 1 terabyte each if you subscribe to Office 365. This helped people to move from buying MS Office to its subscription $99 personal subscription based fee model. You can offer services. For example, IKEA offers online how to assemble videos of its popular products. Caterpillar offers bulldozer monitoring services. Ford could offer services beyond emergency telematics and navigation. It could offer services like helping finding cheaper fuel, self-driving capabilities, or whatever it takes to get a person from point A to point B easier and better. So the whole focus is to shift from products into services. The third aspect is to look at underproductive assets and how to enable that. Cargill provides agricultural informatics as a for-fee service to help farmers decide how to optimize crop sowing using more than 250 variables such as soil type, seeds, and weather patterns. Uber, as all of you know, the business model is essentially using other people's cars. And so this is where you use underproductive assets. Formulating IT strategy is primarily a human activity and not a technical one. For IT to help your firm accomplish its goals, your IT unit must first understand them. This is easier said than done because IT and non-IT managers speak very, very different languages. And as you can see, business speak, non-IT managers talk about inventory turnovers, return on investment, financial leverage, gross margin on inventory, whereas tech speak has a totally different set of acronyms. And this chasm, language chasm, prevents IT investments from becoming strategically meaningful. IT strategy is essentially a conversation between non-IT managers and IT managers. Conversation requires shared language and empathy. There's no substitute other than seeing things from the other person's perspective. Knowing how to speak just enough of the IT manager's language opens the door to conversations. So we have two groups here, business managers and IT managers. And the business managers provide the vision and the IT managers provide the capability. And the firm's IT strategy is a combination of this vision and capability. So talking about the strategic aspirations of a firm, this is an example of a U.S. grocery store industry. A firm's strategic aspiration is a combination of who it pursues and how it does it. All strategy begins with two questions. Who will you target and how? Your firm's aspirations is the combination of their answers, which puts your firm in one of the four cells. So if you look at a mass market, it basically Publix targets everybody, but it differentiates itself, whereas Aldi's focuses on low cost mass market. And then in a market segment, we have Whole Foods and Trader Joe's on the other side. So where does your firm fall in these four categories? So here is another example of the apparel industry. We have Walmart, which does low cost mass market, whereas market segment low cost is Costco, and Target does mass market differentiation, whereas J. Crew does market segment differentiation. So the question is, where does your industry fall in this 2x2 matrix? A firm must be clear-minded about what it aspires to be and needs to commit to one of the four cells. It cannot be indecisive. For example, a low-cost strategy is like going south, and differentiation is like going north. And you cannot do both. By trying to do both, you will fail to be as efficient or as effective as a more focused rival. What is right for Target might be terrible for Walmart, and therefore it's your strategic aspiration which drives your IT strategy and the different types of IT investments. Mismatches between the firm's strategic aspirations and its IT strategy will exact competitive penalties. So the firm's IT portfolio must obsessively focus on how it has chosen to compete. Has it been by being cheaper or different? IT for low-cost strategy focuses on operational effectiveness, which means doing the same things as your rival, but doing them at a much lower cost. It emphasizes productivity of your existing assets, prioritizing those that contribute most to the total cost. However, low-cost strategy can be quite difficult to achieve. There will always be a rival willing to go out of business faster than you. So the alternative strategy is differentiation. But here, inducing your customer to pay a higher price demands a value proposition that is substantially more compelling to them than your cheaper rivals. Value in their eyes is the true arbiter. The focus of IT for a differentiation strategy should be doing activities differently from your rivals to deliver something more and that your customers are willing to pay for. Now, the trifecta can create unprecedented insights into how a product or service is being used, opening opportunities for differentiation and tailoring them to specific market segment. However, differentiation works only as long as your arch rivals cannot copy you. Your IT portfolio must obsessively focus on your chosen cell. It takes time to nurture the whole raft of IT assets tailored to one's strategic aspirations and years to reconfigure entire systems of activities to shift focus. It, it takes time to optimize linkages in your value chain for one strategic aspiration and for IT and line functions to come to a shared understanding around it. You also cannot change customer perception of your firm's value proposition overnight. So be very careful with your strategic aspirations. Your firm's strategic aspiration, which is where it seeks to grow, should drive both your firm's operational strategy and its IT strategy. So let's take a look here. Strategic aspirations should look at your operational strategy, which is the tactical implementation of the business strategy, which looks at the organizational structure, the control, and the incentives, and your IT strategy, which is the choices of how you'll use information technology to beat your rivals. Now, these need to be completely synchronized, and often we hear the word alignment, and alignment is a dangerous mindset because it assumes that operational strategy and IT strategy are static. Neither is static, which makes alignment unachievable. Operational strategy is rarely static because of the trifecta. There are no stable markets. So firms require adaptive operational strategy to find out what variant works best as markets change. IT can also be used to envision new operational strategies, entirely new ways of competing and novel business models. And that's why you need to look at synchronization between the two. Now, synchronization captures this two-way dynamic relationship between the two. IT synchronization refers to the extent to which a firm's IT portfolio enables the execution of the operational strategy. Above all else, a deeper purpose of corporate IT is inching your firm towards its strategic aspirations. Synchronizing or syncing means forging together your firm's IT and operational strategy with that singular purpose. So it's far from a one-shot activity. It is a continuous process of repairing misalignment as it evolves. Synchronizing can create breakthroughs in business value out of ordinary IT assets. It can create synchronizing, and it's not IT, but the synchronizing between IT and operational strategy can create a hard-to-copy competitive advantage over your rivals. Synchronizing indistinguishably fuses IT strategy and operational strategy, and a historical analogy here is in World War II is why Germany defeated France, as they were synchronized their tanks and aircrafts, and so they were better aligned together. Today, Spanish retailer Zara's IT synchronization or syncing allows it to introduce new clothing collections 4 times as often as the rest of the industry. Rivals such as Banana Republic Aeropostale unsuccessfully tried to copy Zara. They could copy everything else except the unobserved linkage between Zara's IT strategy and operational strategy. Syncing matters because operational strategy and IT strategy are interdependent. So this is called joint probabilities. And you want to get the two probabilities to work together. If you're 90% likely to be able to pull off your operational strategy, as the likelihood of getting IT part drops to 90%, 70%, and 50%, your prospect of progressing to your strategic aspirations drop 81%, 63%, or 45%, which is essentially 90%, which is your operational strategy multiplied by the probability of getting your IT strategy. So synchronizing essentially increases the overlap between what the line functions want, what IT thinks they need, and in the end, what is feasible. It lessens the risk of throwing money at the wrong problems. So how can non-IT managers contribute to IT strategy? First of all, IT is too strategically important to just be isolated among IT folks. Non-IT managers' contribution to IT strategy gives it its substance. The first thing, it allows your firm to do the right things, spending smarter, not more. The most common problem with corporate IT comes from doing wrong things, not doing things wrong, but doing the wrong things. So it's essentially the problem definition and what you focus on to use IT to solve the problem. It does not matter how right your IT unit is doing things if it is not doing the things right for your firm. The second part is that the synchronization between operational strategy and IT strategy will break you out of the Red Queen's arm race. It is impossible to copy the unobservable linkages between your IT strategy and your non-IT strategy. And it also prevents overspending on IT and focuses on just the right level of delivering more business value. For example, you may not need a Cadillac when a Chevy will do fine. This laser-focused IT investment on your firm's strategic aspirations rather than mindlessly copying industry trends or what your competitor is doing will help you save money. Finally, it avoids IT decisions that handicap tomorrow's strategy. IT architecture, which we'll discuss in lecture 3, is usually irreversible and have inescapable strategic consequences. Facebook has huge monthly internet connectivity bills. Netflix has built its architecture to be very scalable, and Skype has competitive durability, are all rooted in early architectural choices made long before anybody had heard of them. Even though IT architecture determines your firm's technological DNA, firms treat them as a technical decision best left to the IT unit. Non-IT managers' input into these choices ensures that today's architectural choices do not become handicaps later on. So non-IT managers can contribute by competitively exploiting your data assets using analytics, and we'll talk about this in lecture 2. Strategically choosing your IT architecture, and this will be lecture 3. Avoiding the Goldilocks trap and ensuring payoff and investing under uncertainty, this will be lecture 4. Governing IT through to be strategic and frugal, this will be lecture 5. And ensuring business payoff and sensible sourcing, this will be lectures 6 and 7. Securing IT and ensuring resilience, this will be lecture 8. And finally, trend spotting new opportunities with emerging technologies, this will be the last lecture in this particular course. So the final summary for this chapter is that We talked about the Red Queen race, where IT spending from one firm triggers retaliatory investments, creating a cascading cycle of ever increasing IT spending. We talked about the trifecta: digitization, infusion, ubiquity, these three drivers which is fracturing the industry. We talked about the four epochs of corporate IT, the four major waves. We talked about IT portfolio, the three parts: infrastructure, apps, and data. We talked about how IT often handicaps strategy, but it need not do that, and that IT often is the glue for business processes. We talked about your strategic aspirations of your firm and how it is essentially who it's targeting and how it's targeting. And finally, we talked about IT synchronizing with operational strategy to give you a competitive edge. With this, we finish lecture 1. I hope you enjoyed it.